Silence of the Lambs meets Taylor Swift's Eras Tour? What? Are you thinking about going to the theaters to see M. Night Shyamalan's new movie Trap? You might want to watch this video before you do that. Welcome back to the Nonstop Horror YouTube channel, where we embrace the fear all year long and celebrate the horror genre that we all love so much. Today, I'm talking about the new anticipated M. Night Shyamalan film, Trap. The past decade for M. Night has been pretty decent, and he had a bad run before that, but since 2015 he's put out great films like The Visit, Split, and Glass, and other kind of middle-of-the-road horror films like Knock at the Cabin and Old. But after the last 10 years of work from him, I was back on board and excited for a new M. Night Shyamalan movie. Keyword was. Trap is the story of a man taking his daughter to an arena concert that is being staked out by the FBI as they try to hunt down a serial killer named The Butcher. And now, since it's not a spoiler because it was shown in the very first trailer, Josh Hartnett is the Butcher. He's the serial killer that they're after. Just a heads up, this review will remain spoiler free, so you don't have to worry about having anything spoiled, and stick to the end so that you can see my final number rating for the film. I have mixed feelings on this movie, and to be honest, it's leaning a little bit more towards the bad. So most of the movie takes place at this concert that Josh Hartnett and his daughter are attending, and I just think that there's way too much of the music and performance for my liking. It's supposed to feel like everything is kind of happening in real time along with the concert, but it's pop music made for teenage girls, so like, what am I supposed to do with that? Given the same exact movie, if it was a rock concert or a metal concert, I probably would have liked it a lot more. Maybe that just tells you all you need to know about the audience that this movie is for. There were a couple of great performances in Trap. Josh Hartnett, obviously, he's great in it. He has a pretty fun track record in the horror genre. He was in The Faculty, he was in 30 Days of Night, we won't mention Halloween H2O. He was in Penny Dreadful, which is probably my favorite horror TV show, and also he starred in an episode of Black Mirror called Beyond the Sea. Hartnett was a huge draw to this film, and for good reason. He's a great actor, and I personally think that he carries the movie. However, he suffers a little bit from the writing at times. At first, I was thinking to myself, I can't tell if the line deliveries are bad because of bad acting or bad writing, but I mean, in Josh Hartnett we trust. I don't think that he was really at fault at all. Ariel Donoghue plays Riley, Josh Hartnett's daughter in the film, and I think that she played up a hyped up teenager about to see her favorite performer for the first time at a concert pretty well. She was very believable in this. The trailer for this movie gave away so much information, including like the big thing that Josh Hartnett is the serial killer that the FBI is after. I mean, think about the potential there. The M. Night Shyamalan, he's obviously known for his twists in his movies, and what a twist that would have been. It would have been at the tippity-toppity peak of his twists in all of his filmmaking history if we did not know that Josh Hartnett was a serial killer going into this. Just a lot of wasted potential there. M. Night raised the bar way too high for the rest of the movie by revealing that plot point so early on. However, despite that downfall, the first half of the movie was pretty enjoyable. The mystery is what drives the viewing experience. You're sitting there wondering if and when and how he's going to get caught. There were some comedic moments throughout the film. It is pretty funny, and it's a mixed bag of intentional comedy along with like cringe comedy that I don't think they really intended to be in the movie. And the biggest contributor to that is the dialogue. It's not great. M. Night himself described the movie as Silence of the Lambs meets Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. Silence of the Lambs is getting a lot of love this year. It was in a lot of talks with Longlegs as well. I also think it's very self-righteous to compare your movie to the best thriller of all time and the biggest, best pop music arena tour of all time as well. Again, M. Night, you're setting the bar way too high here, my friend. While on paper, Josh Hartnett's character meets the bare minimum to be compared to Hannibal Lecter, he's a sociopathic serial killer, the similarities end there. As an audience member, you never really feel threatened by the Butcher, and he's just not that scary. He's like a little mouse trying to get out of a maze with his only progression coming from dumb luck. The Eras Tour comparison holds a little bit more weight to it. It's a big arena tour with costume designs and big set designs, and so yeah, that comparison holds a little bit more merit. It definitely felt like M. Night didn't know how to end this film. There are like 4 different times in the movie where I thought it was going to end, but then it just kept going and going and going, with each like transition to the next phase just getting more and more wild. It's a very cheeky, silly thriller when you step back and look at it. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but the concert they go to is being put on by Lady Raven, who's played by Saleka Shyamalan. Yes, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. This just felt like an ad for her music, if I'm being completely honest. I had no fucking clue that she was even a singer before this movie. And you witness a huge chunk of the performance. It's very unnecessary. Although she does come into the plot a little bit more than just being the singer on stage. A little bit of behind the scenes facts. Apparently this is based off of an actual operation that happened back in in 1985. It was called Operation Flagship. Several fugitives were offered free NFL tickets and like an all-expenses-paid trip to the Super Bowl, and it was just a sting operation. And like 100-odd hopefuls showed up and then realized that it was a sting operation. On Instagram, M. Night posted a few fun facts about the making of the film, and I've got a couple of interesting ones here for you. From a technical standpoint, you could never get closer to the stage than the characters were. So once they started moving closer to the stage, then so did we as the audience. How did Josh Hartnett and M. Night Shyamalan come together? Well, apparently Josh Hartnett visited M. Night Shyamalan while he was producing The Watchers, another dud from this year, and they started talking about Oppenheimer and Black Mirror and the fact that they are both fathers of 3 girls. And because of that, it's now canon in my head that they bonded over the experience of being at a Taylor Swift concert, bored out of their minds, thinking, how can I make this interesting? How can we make this into a horror film? What would make this interesting for a 50-year-old father of 3 daughters? I'm not sure if it was just me or if it was the horror community as a whole, but we may have dug ourselves a hole by anticipating this as a horror film. The marketing doesn't really necessarily say that it's a horror film, but the first trailer and the posters all made it feel like it was. But this is not a horror movie. It's a silly thriller, suspenseful drama, if you ask me personally. It is labeled as horror on IMDb, and I just think that's wrong. If Trap were to be labeled as horror, let's just go down that possibility right now. I would call it intro horror, something like The Watchers, which is obviously like not very scary and made for a younger audience. Real quick, speaking of The Watchers, in the first 10 minutes of the film, in the background you can see a billboard for The Watchers, which if you don't know, it's a 2024 horror film that was not very good, but it was directed by M. Night Shyamalan's other daughter. I forget her name and I'm not gonna look it up right now. But at this point, the Shyamalans are just throwing nepotism in our faces. M. Night confirmed in an interview that he was inspired to make Trapped after having conversations with his daughter Saleka, which makes total sense. It gives off the same vibes as my kid wanting to make YouTube videos with me, and so I go along and make videos with him, but you're not gonna make the same content with your kid as you would make for yourself or your own audience. Twice now in 2024, we've been duped by the Shyamalans, and I am not happy about it. But yeah, I would say save your money, wait till this is streaming. It's not really worth your money in the theater, not even as a like popcorn horror, turn your brain off type of experience. I don't even think it's worth that, honestly, and I don't feel great saying that because overall I really like M. Night Shyamalan. But yeah, those are just my personal thoughts. It was a major letdown. This one's getting a 5 out of 10 for me. I don't really think there's much rewatchability with it either. But yeah, maybe if you have a young teen or a kid who wants to get into horror movies, this could be good for them. One thing is for sure though, this movie is not crispy. Well, there you go, friends. That is my review of the 2024 thriller film Trap. Let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments. Was I too harsh? Was I not harsh enough? I'd appreciate it if you slash the like button and you subscribe so I can keep bringing you more fun, entertaining, and informative horror content. If you're looking for something to stream this weekend, check out this playlist where I talk about the best movies streaming on different platforms, or you'd probably like this video as well. I'll see you in the next one, and remember to embrace the fear all year long.